What's on guys, we're back with a brand new video, and today I'll be bringing a video where I show you my top 50 players in my opinion. Now if you don't like anything on my list, just comment down below and I'll tell you why I put this player in a certain position, or comment a player that you thought probably could have been in this list over another player, because I will read every single comment and I'll give my thoughts in the comments. And I recommend any other like AFL YouTubers that are doing this list to do this video, share me in it so then I can watch that video and give you my opinion on your list. And yeah, without further ado, let's get straight into this video. So real quickly, when I was making this video, I totally forgot about that Jeremy Mcgovern was actually in the AFL. I don't know what was going through my head until I saw Josh Kennedy was on this list, and I'm like, wait, I've totally forgot about Jeremy Mcgovern. So I'm tracking Jeremy Mcgovern at 50, but don't take this one too crazily compared to all my other top 50. All I'm saying is Jeremy Mcgovern is in the top 50, but I don't have him ranked. I'm going to put him at 50 just because I forgot to put him in. So 49, I've gone with Sam Walsh. Now, this man has won Rookie of the Year, he's already won a Mark of the Year, he's a great young player, and seeing the players coming up in front of him, this is a great spot for him to be on, only his third season in the AFL. At number 48, I've gone with Sam Menengola. Now, this man has had almost a breakout year in season 2020, being developed into one of the best wingmen in the comp. So great, and it's a big reason why Collingwood are succeeding. At 47, I've gone with Jarryd Lyons. Now, Jarryd Lyons is a very underrated player. You probably say, who is Jarryd Lyons? Well, he's pretty much like the 1-2 punch with Lockheed Whitfield. He's a very great player, very underrated. I recommend you to search up some Jarryd Lyons highlights when you next have some free time. Next, I've got 46 is Cam Guthrie. Now this man is very underrated, but he wasn't All-Australian this year, so I don't know if that makes him counted as a underrated player anymore. But I personally think he's underrated, and I reckon he's a very clean midfielder. Now at 45, I've put arguably the cleanest midfielder in the comp, Scott Pendlebury. Now Scott Pendlebury he's looking, it's like he's getting worse, but it's meant to be. He's an older player now. He's played over 315 games. He's an absolute star to competition. Personally, probably my favourite Collingwood player. I love the way he goes about it, and him still being a top 50 player at his age is absolutely elite. Now, 44, I've gone with Ben Brown. Now, this man has swapped teams to the good old Melbourne, and I reckon that he could have a very good season. I even picked him for my Coleman medal in my season predictions if you want to go and watch the season prediction video. So yeah, I've got him at 44. Now 43, I have Rory Laird. Now Rory Laird is probably a little bit underrated. Not only for his half-backing skills, his pace off half-back over that, pretty much like that 2017 year where they did make the grand final push. But recently I found out in 2020 he did actually play in the guts, and he was a very good player, coming runner-up to only Riley O'Brien in the Adelaide BNF, so that was very good. Now at 42, I've gone with another important player for the Geelong Cats, which is Tom Stewart. Now, he's one of the most elite half-backs, already been a 2-time All-Australian in his short career, so he's just an elite half-back. Anyone would want him on his team. Now at 41, I have Zach Merritt. Now this man is arguably, I reckon, is the best SM player currently on their list. He's so elite. His kicking skills can go on the outside, he can get the hard ball, he can do pretty much everything you want from a midfielder apart from the kick goals, but once he improves on that, he'll be one of the best midfielders in the AFL. Now next up is another midfielder, is this Adam Treloar. Now this man recently got kicked out of Collingwood and got moved to the Bulldogs. But even though he got kicked out of his club, he's still a very elite midfielder. The only thing that really holds him back from being even better is probably his ability to stay healthy. He's always injured, which is very unfortunate. Next up is another player that gets really injury prone, which is Jordan Ngoe at 39. Now Jordan Ngoe on his best day is probably a top 10 AFL player, but personally I reckon that he gets injured too much, and when he plays sometimes he's very inconsistent. So once he gets that under control, he'll be an absolute superstar. Everyone knows what he did in 2018. And next up at 38, I've got Caleb Daniel. Now Caleb Daniel is It's a really weird player, Caitlin Daniel, because he's a defender but he doesn't defend, which if you told anyone that, they probably thought, well, he's an absolute trash player, but no, his offensive potential or his offensive skill set is so great off halfback, probably the best kick in the AFL, and absolutely elite, and he's the shortest player in the AFL, so gotta give him some credit for that, for being so good. Next up at 37, I've got Dylan Grimes. Now, when I was making this list, I couldn't believe that I put Dylan Grimes this low, but after I looked at all the players in front of him, I just thought he had to be at 37, there's no other option, which he'd be still so elite. He probably took a bit of a step back because Noah Baltus came into the side, David Asprew's in the side, which is probably he's almost taken a little bit of a step back, but he doesn't need a step up, but when he's get called on, he always does what he needs to do. Next up at 36, I've gone with Jack Darling. Now Jack Darling, he's almost just a consistent man with being inconsistent. It's weird. It's a weird thing to put it. Like, I don't watch too many West Coast games, I can be completely honest. The games I watch, sometimes you don't see him for 2 quarters, but then he pops up and kicks 3 one quarter. He's a very, very weird player, but lucky he's paired up with Josh Kennedy, so even when he does have his off quarter, he's still a very, very elite player, and that's why I've got him at 36. Next up at 35, I've gone with Jack Gunson. Now, originally when I was making this list, I actually did put him in the top 30, but I felt like I was a bit overrating the players, and the players that were, like, he was above, I thought were probably better players than him, but I had to chuck him at 35, just because of how great he is. I think he was like top 5 in goal kick and goals this season in season 2020. And he's been All-Australian before in 2018 when Hawthorn made that surprising top 4 finish. At least it was surprising for me. But he's still a very, very good player, even though Hawthorn have pretty much taken a step back in the AFL world. And the next up at 34 is Jacob Wiedering. Now, probably the start of last season, I never thought I'd be saying Jacob Wiedering's a top 34 player in the AFL, after he was trying to find his feet in the first few years of his AFL career. But now he's developed into one of the best key backs in the competition. You can't underestimate this man's value to Carlton. If this man wasn't at Carlton, they're probably a bottom 4 side, I'll be honest with you. He's that glue, he locks down the best oppositions forward. He's absolutely elite. Now at 33, I've got Tom Pappley. Now this man is one of the best key forwards, small forwards in the AFL. I think he kicked the second most goals for a small forward this season, only behind Dan Butler, which is absolutely elite. That's what you want, and I reckon he would have it's weird to say, he almost would have won the Coleman medal if he actually kicked straight. He kicked like 40 behinds this year for his, I think, 28 goals, I think he kicked, which if he was kicking straight, he probably could have bet Tom Hawkins, which is absolutely ridiculous to say. Now at 32, I have another Sydney player, which is Luke Parker. Now this is another one of the midfielders that are so underrated. I know Sydney are not the best team to watch right now, even though they are filled with young talent, but this man is at the forefront of that team, and he's absolutely elite. This man, I recommend you search up some Luke Parker highlights, because you'll find one of the most underrated midfields in the competition. Now next up at 31, I've got Andrew Gaff. Now he's taken a little bit of a step back. Like, I think in 2020 it was probably his worst career year. I've not done any research to that. That's just like a visual. I feel like his stats were down. The one game I saw where he absolutely showed like he was the old Gaff was probably that game against St Kilda, where him and Tim Kelly were their only fit midfielders, and they absolutely dominated the St Kilda midfielder, which was absolutely crazy to watch. But I'm not saying he's a bad player. Obviously, I'm not saying he's a bad player. He's at 31. But a few years ago, I thought, before that Andrew Brayshaw incident happened with him, I thought he was going to win the Brownlow medal that year, and slowly he's getting worse. But I still reckon he's probably a top 3 winger in the competition. Now at 30, I've got Dan Butler. Now this is another one, that situation where if you said to a Tigers fan, Dan Butler would be an All-Australian in season 2020, he would say you're taking the piss, because he wasn't an All-Australian, which I thought was absolutely rubbish, in my opinion. But he was an All-Australian nominee, which is absolutely great, and no one would have expected him to be a nominee in the season 2020. Even St Kilda fans, they would have thought you're crazy if you think that he's going to be even close to an All-Australian. He got beaten by All Australian because Dustin Martin is apparently a forward pocket. You learn something new every day. Now next up, I've got Tim Kelly at 29. And Tim Kelly, he's took a bit of a step back when he went to West Coast. Everyone knows how great he was in that 2019 year when he played for Geelong. But ever since he got to West Coast, maybe he's just the chemistry issues, maybe he's trying to work with his new teammates. But him and Nick and Nat Nui had that great chemistry. But I felt like they were missing links in their team. It felt really weird because I personally reckon they had the best list going into 2020, but they just didn't show it. They didn't deal with hub life great. So that's why I've got him at 29. Next up at 28, I've got Clayton Oliver. Now, he was a very, very young player and he's very, very elite. He's an absolute ball magnet. And even though that Melbourne midfield gets overshown by Christian Bachwaka, you need to look at Clayton Oliver. Even though he's not the best kicker of the football, he's cost games because of his kicking ability. But maybe he misses up one kick, but he'll grab you 40 touches on the other end. So you kind of have to weigh it out sometimes. At 27, I have Lockheed Whitfield. And unlike Clayton Oliver, this man can kick the footy. And he's a very, very elite kick of the footy. He's an endurance mastermind. He's very, very elite. And he's probably the best winger in the competition right now, which is very, very good to say if you're a Giants fan. Now at 26, I've got Jack Mcrae. Actually, before I go on to Jack Mcrae, sorry, there's no Giants fans. All right, back into it. 2026, I've got Jack Mcrae. Now this man was an All-Australian this year, and he's just so underrated. Like, there's so many underrated midfielders in this competition because everyone just cares about Dustin Martin and Lachie Neale, even though Lachie Neale should get more credit than he does. Because I feel like the only midfielders ever got talked about in the AFL is Dustin Martin. Even though rightly so, he's clearly the best midfielder in the competition. But they need to give some of these other guys some love, like the Luke Parkers of the world, the Jack Mcraes of the world. Even though they have been All-Australian in the past, they just need some more love. That's why I put him at 26. At 25, I have another GWS player. I'm sorry, Giants fans. I was joking before when I said there's no Giants fans. They get players to the game. People have hopped on the GWS bandwagon, and that's not a bad thing. Being on a bandwagon on a team that's new is always great. So you have to get around the Giants fans. I hope there's some more Giants fans coming in. Alright, next up, we've got Toby Green at 25, like I was saying before. But Toby Green is probably the best small forward in the competition in my opinion. Other people think differently of that. Even though I do have Liam Ryan on this list higher, I still reckon that this man kind of plays not really like a small forward. He almost plays like a mini full forward at times. Almost like how Jordan DeGoey and Dustin Martin do. So he's very elite at what he does. Rarely gets shut down and can kick goals from anywhere. I think that game against Richmond when he was kicking goal, he kicked that crazy goal where he stood up in the pack, kicked that goal over his head. I'm like, this man's insane. Now 24, I've got Darcy Moore. Now Darcy Moore is a very, very it's almost like Jacob Wiedering, of how he started his career and how he's currently going. They both started their career as a key forward, couldn't really find their feet, moved to the key position and found their feet. Darcy Moore is probably one of the best key position players in the competition. He's easily top two in my opinion, only runners up to Harris Andrews, and he's very, very elite. And if you're a Collingwood fan, you love this man intercepting everything that goes near his way. Now the man I talked about before, at 23, I've got Liam Ryan. Now Liam Ryan ended up getting the All-Australian nod this year over Dan Butler and Tom Pappley, which I was not expecting. I thought Dan Butler and Tom Pappley were probably better small forwards, but obviously they thought differently. But Liam Ryan just has so many more elements of his game. He's a great, great marker of the footy. Everyone knows his name is Flying Ryan, so you need to take that into account, and he's an absolute star. Love Liam Ryan, he's a highlight machine. I love that matchup with Braden Maynard and Liam Ryan in that elimination final. I reckon that was just much watch TV. At 22, I've gone with Taylor Adams. Now Taylor Adams has just had a breakout year in 2020, developed into one of the best two-way midfielders in the competition. The way he never backs down from a contest. He goes 110% in every contest. He hits the scoreboard, which is what you very, very want from a midfielder in the AFL. If you want to be elite, midfielder in the AFL, you need to be able to kick goals, because if you don't kick goals, you won't be an elite midfielder, as simple as that. And Taylor Adams has learnt that and is now developed into one of the best midfielders in the competition. Now at 21, I've got Nick Haynes, and this man is probably one of the best intercept markers in the competition. His ability to intercept he's overtaken Jeremy Mcgovern. I have to say that Jeremy Mcgovern, I just realised I do not have on this list, and I'm not too mad about it, to be honest. I feel like Jeremy Mcgovern has taken a step back and other players have stepped forward, and Nick Haynes is one of them players. Nick Haynes is just almost like the whole GWS team. They just get these gems out of nowhere. Nick Haynes is another player that got drafted as a forward, turned back, and now he's probably one of the best defenders in the competition. Now at 20, I've gone with Josh Kennedy. Now Josh Kennedy, it's like every year I think Josh Kennedy's got to take a step back. He's got to have a year where he barely goes near the football. But this man just never fails to kick at least like 2 goals a game. He's just an elite full forward. He could go until, I thought he was going to stop a couple of years ago. This man's going to go until he's about 50 at this rate. He never stops. Realistically, this is probably his last year, but he's still very, very elite. Like this man coming up at 19, I've gone with Travis Boak. And even though this man just came second in the Brownlow medal, I put him a bit lower. I don't know if this is right or not, but I put him a bit lower simply because I feel like that he could take a step back. I'm more predicting the future with Travis Boak, but he's 33 years old. He had his best career year this year, and he could be one of them players where he just keeps on getting better, and by the time he's 40, he looks like Dustin Martin, but I highly doubt that's going to happen. I feel like he could take a step back this year, and that's simply why I put him this low, kind of what I did with Josh Kennedy. I put him at 20, because I kind of feel like they've already gone past their prime, and now players like at number 18, Charlie Cameron, are on the up. Now Charlie Cameron, he was arguably the best small forward in 2019, but he almost looked like he lost a step in 2020, but obviously his performances were great in the final series. The 2 finals that Brisbane played in, I reckon he was almost the best player on the ground for Brisbane in them 2 games. He was absolutely elite. He's very, very fast. I mean, when he finds such consistency in your game, he'll be an absolute gun. Now at 17, I've got Tom Lynch. Now this man is probably the most hated player in the competition, but no matter how you hate a player, it's almost like Toby Green. You cannot underestimate how elite this player is. I think he kicked 60 plus goals in 2019. He kicked, I think, 25 plus. Don't quote me on that. I'm not looking at the stats right now, but I know he kicked at least above 25, which is still elite for a shortened quarter. It'll be interesting to see what happens when he goes back to full game time and if he can lead, because now I feel like the year coming up is when he fully takes over from Jack Riewoldt as being the number 1 key forward. I know he was supposed to the past couple of years, but I always feel like Jack Riewoldt is still the number 1 man, and I feel like this year he needs to step up. This should be his Coleman year, or he should be in the conversation for the Coleman. Next up at 16, I've got with Jeremy Cameron. Now this man last year he would have been easily top 10 player in the competition, but he's taken a step back, but I'm not surprised that he took a step back, if you get what I mean. When people know, or they have a feeling that they might request a trade, they always play bad in their last year. Not because they mean to, it's because their head is not on playing football at the moment. Their head is what's going to happen next year. So I feel like that was kind of going on with Jeremy Cameron, even though he still did kick, I think, 15 plus goals. He's still an elite forward, but I feel like this year when he goes to Geelong, he'll just be an absolute superstar. And I can't wait to see that combo. Now at 15, I've got Charlie Dickson. Now this man is almost like Tom Hawkins 2.0 in my eyes. They have the exact same play style. The only difference is that I feel like that Charlie Dickson can't get his team involved as much in the play that's going on, and that he's not as great of a goal kick. Once he gets that down, he'll be an absolute star. He's still a few years younger than Tom Hawkins, so maybe he can develop that. Tom Hawkins has always not been this great. So that's why I've got him at 15. And now at 14, I've got Christian Petrarca. And Christian Petrarca, one of them players that had a breakout year in 2020. He almost had a breakout year at the back half of 2019, but he just took his game to another level. He's one of them players that have developed almost like what Jordan Ngoi, Dustin Martin, Toby Green does. They push forward, they go one out in the square, and they can body their opponent and kick goals, and that's exactly what Christian Petrarca did. One of the things that highlighted in my mind when I think of Christian Petrarca is when he kicked them 4 goals against St Kilda and single-handedly won the match against St Kilda. It was a low-scoring game, and that seemed like the only bloke that could actually get near the goals in that game. And that's the game where I thought, geez, this man Christian Petrarca is absolutely insane. At number 13, I've gone with Jack Steele. Now, in my personal opinion, I feel like Jack Steele is in the box seat to win the 2021 Brownlow medal. So that's my prediction. I reckon that he'll win the 2021 Brownlow medal. I could come back to this in a year and he doesn't even get near it, and it was just a fluke year in 2020. But I personally reckon that this man, when he gets some help around him, he'll be absolutely elite. With the addition of Brad Krause to that St Kilda team, he finally takes all the pressure off him, and he can finally get some space in that midfield and absolutely tear it up. Now at number 12, I've gone with Max Gawn. Now Max Gawn was an All-Australian this year. Personally, I reckon it was really weird when I saw Max Gawn get an All-Australian, because I personally reckon he had as great of a year that other people thought that he did. I almost thought like he kind of had a bit of an iffy, or not like an iffy, but I feel like he stopped getting better. You get what I mean? Like, I feel like he's hit his peak, and he's just gonna be this player for the rest of his career. And if he's an All-Australian for the rest of his career, that's elite for Max Gawn. But I kind of feel like I'm not surprised about when Max Gawn does something anymore, because it seems like he just does the same old each week. But he's same old each week. Don't get me wrong, he's absolutely elite. But I'm not surprised about Max Gawn anymore, and that's why I put him at number 12. Now at number 11, I've gone with Brodie Grundy. Now this man, I saw like last year people were doing a list and he was top 3, and I was thinking, yep, that's right, he probably is a top 3 player in the competition, but he's just taken a step back. Like, I don't want to say it, but I feel like he almost took the money and ran. Like, he's got his 7-year, $7 million deal now. He knows he's got $7 million guaranteed, even if he plays like an absolute, I don't even know, horrendous over the past 7 years, and he'll still get his $7 million. He might get traded away like Adam Trelaw did, who knows, but I feel like he just wasn't up to the level. That's why I've seen him drop so far from being a top 3 player last year to being outside the top 10. It's just because of he's taken a step back. And I can make this reacting to this video in a year or something, and this man is clearly a top 3 player again. But right now I just have him outside the top 10 at number 11. Now at number 10, I've gone with Patrick Cripps, and this is another player that just has taken a bit of a step back in season 2020, and not because it was his own fault. I more blame Carlton on why he had a bad year, and you probably think it's on Patrick Cripps to have a good year. I personally reckon that this man was getting played into the ground by Carlton. Anyone that watched a Carlton game last year really could have seen you don't have to be a genius to figure out that he was playing with a very, very injured shoulder. Carlton were not making finals last year. I don't know why they were forcing him to play. I know he was probably beaming to play. He wanted to play so bad. He was in a hub. He didn't want to just be sitting around in the hub. He wanted to be playing football. But if Paddy Cripps wants to be an elite player in the competition, he needs to know, do not play through injuries. We're not the 1980s anymore. We don't play with broken ribs. We can take a rest, especially when it's in the regular season and you're not making finals. So I expect Carlton to rise, and I expect this man to rise in season 2021. But right now I have him number 10. Now at number 9, I have Marcus Bontempelli, and the reason I put him just above Patrick Cripps is because I feel like this man has a better skill set. They're the same size, but except this man can kick the footy better and he can kick goals better, which is the 2 attributes that I've chucked him above Patrick Cripps. Even if you look at the numbers, you're like, well, Paddy Cripps gets so much more of the ball. It's because look at the midfielders surrounded by Marcus Bontempelli. He's got Liberatore, he's got Bailey Smith, he's got Lockie Hunter, he's got Jack Mcrae, he's got Josh Dunkley, and now the addition of Adam Trelaw. Like, he has so many other players winning the football. Who's getting the ball for Carlton? Like, Sam Walsh is about the only bloke and maybe Ed Kerno and Mark Murphy when they're on. Like, there's just no competition in that midfield. Now at number 8, I've gone with Nick Natanui. Now this man is just an elite ruckman. He runs as fast as Adam Sard. Probably one of the greatest hit-outers of all time. I don't even know if that's a word, but he's just like, when this man goes up and you give him some space and what am I saying? Giving him some space, he'll just jump over anyone. He's had like 3 knee reconstructions and he can still touch the top of Optus Stadium when he's there. Like, it's just ridiculous. His tackle pressure. He plays like an extra midfielder around the ground. He moves like a midfielder, except he's 7 foot, so it's absolutely ridiculous. That's why I've got him number 8. I reckon he's the clear best ruckman in the competition currently. Now at number 7, I've got Buddy Franklin, and it was so weird to rate Buddy Franklin. Buddy Franklin is this. He's just so great. He's such a great player. He's almost kicked 1,000 goals in the AFL, and I didn't know where to rank him, because on his good day he's probably number 1. But I don't know how he's going to come back from his injury, so that's why I've chucked him at number 7. I don't really need to go into detail about Buddy Franklin. We all know what Buddy Franklin is. He hasn't played in 2 years, so it'll be interesting. I hope he plays this year. Please do not get another hamstring injury. I want to see Buddy Franklin back on. Now at number 6, I've got Nat Fyfe. And when I made my best midfielders video, I didn't chuck this man top 5, and people are wondering why. It's because I reckon that he's not even really a midfielder anymore, what I get to mean. He doesn't really have a position. He played, if you looked at the stats, I'm pretty sure he played like 70% forward line this year, which for the first time in his career he's done that. It's because how Fremantle are playing is that they're playing almost like Nat Fyfe is a mini key forward, almost like what Dustin Martin is. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think Nat Fyfe will be playing too much more midfield in his career. As much as people think, I've seen their Brownlow predictions that they have him top 5 in the Brownlow. I just don't. I reckon he'll be top 5 standard, but he will not get the votes because he's getting other people into the game. He's playing more as a forward. I honestly reckon this could be a big statement, but I reckon he's closer to a Coleman than he is to a Brownlow these days, and that's not a bad thing. Obviously, I don't think it's a bad thing. He's 6 on my players in 2021 prediction, so I still reckon he's elite, but I will not put him in an elite midfielder. I will put him in an elite midfielder category, but I just don't know if he'll play midfield time next year. At number 5, I've gone Harris Andrews, and this man is clearly the best defender in the competition, and he's only 23 years old. 23 years old, and he's already this good. That's unheard of for a key defender to be this good at this age. He's a big, tall defender, but he can move. No one scores goals on him. He's probably the best spoiler in the AFL, and when he's doing that, he's probably the best intercept marker in the AFL. That's just the type of level this man is at. Yeah, there's nothing really to say about him. He's just absolutely elite. So at number 4, I've gone with Paddy Dangerfield, and I don't know where to chuck him. I knew he was top 5, but I didn't know where I should chuck him. And as you probably figured out that I have Tom Hawkins above him, I personally reckon that Tom Hawkins is just probably the best player on the Cats. So that's why I've chucked Dangerfield below Tom Hawkins. But don't get me wrong, Dangerfield is still elite. He's almost like what Nat Fyfe is doing these days. He plays way more forward than he does midfield, but when he goes into the midfield, he's absolutely elite. That's why I have Dangerfield at number 4. And talking about the Geelong Cats, at number 3, I've got Tom Hawkins. Now, Tom Hawkins is almost, if key forwards could win Brownlows, even though they can, but it just does not happen, this man would have probably been there. He kicked 50 goals this year, led the AFL in goal assists. He was that game against Port Adelaide where he was just taking Tom Cleary to the back of the square. They were sending it to him, and I don't even reckon prime Matty Scarlett could stop Tom Hawkins that day. He was just absolutely elite. No one can stop this man when he's on. That's why I put him at number 3. And then number 2, I have the reigning Brownlow medalist, and that is Lachie Neale. Now Lachie Neale, you're probably saying Brownlow medalist, shouldn't I just put him instant number 1, not even looking about it? I would if there wasn't another player in the AFL called Dustin Martin. Now, I feel like Lachie Neale is kind of like James Harden, and we're talking about AFL, we're talking about in NBA terms, and Dustin Martin's like LeBron James. Now, Lachie Neale, don't get me wrong, he played an awesome final series, but the game where it matters, I feel like he goes missing in the contest. Like, so when you look at the stats sheet, you see in that prelim final, he's kicked 2 goals, he's had 20 touches, like he's had a great game. But then you look where he gets his touches, and where he got the most touches is when they were down by 40 and the game was over and they were just getting junk time touches. And when he kicked his goal was in that last quarter when they were getting junk time touches. Yeah, he did kick a clutch goal in the first quarter, or I mean in the second quarter, but in that first quarter he had 2 touches. Probably the most important quarter is how you start out, and Lockheed Whitfield obviously didn't start out great. Now in that second quarter, yeah, he got 10 touches in the goal and all that stuff, but then you're thinking, alright, Lockheed Whitfield's on a roll. But then you look at the third quarter and he gets 4 touches and goes missing, and then Geelong go out to a 7-goal lead, and then the game's over. So you feel like that if Lockheed Whitfield stays consistent in the final series, he'll be an absolute beast. It'll probably be on the Dustin Martin level. At 30, I have a pretty obvious choice for me, which was Dustin Martin. Now this man is a 3-time Norm Smith medalist, the only 3-time Norm Smith medalist in the AFL. He's won a Brownlow medal, even though in the regular season, we were doing based off just regular season, I would probably not even have this guy in my top 10, but his impact, it's like he goes to another level in the finals. He's only really turned up in one regular season, like full on, like the Dustin Martin, like I don't know what I really want to call it, like finals Dustin Martin has only ever been put into the regular season once, and that was the 2017 season, and that's when he won every award you can win apart from the Coleman medal, which was one of the best seasons in AFL history. Was that 2017 award, even finishing off with the premiership. And he shows no real signs of slowing down. If he keeps doing this when he only turns up in the finals, he'll be absolutely elite for many years to come and lead Richmond to more premierships and even try to go for a 3-peat this year. So that's why I've Dustin Martin as the best current player in the AFL. So that's the end of the video, guys. If somehow you stood through 32 minutes of me talking about my favourite players in the AFL, thank you very much. Comment down below that you made it to this part of the video. We're currently 35 subscribers away from 300 subscribers. If we can somehow hit that in the next week, that's my goal. So please, can we get there and try to get this video to 50 likes, like 50 players, 50 likes. That sounds pretty good to me. So thanks for watching, guys. Make sure to drop a like on this video and subscribe, and thanks for watching.